Welcome to the Evolvepreneur AI Advantage Show, and I'm your host, Richard Wray. My mission is to help entrepreneurs understand AI and use it to their advantage. Join me today where we dig deep with our guests and get you the best concepts and strategies. Today's special guest is Gill Tiney. Gill is an author, speaker, business coach, and the founder of Collaboration Global, a community that comes together for the benefit of helping each other to make powerful, positive impact for our world. She believes AI has its place, but wants to start with the fundamentals in business and in life. Today, we're talking about AI. Are we putting the cart before the horse? Gill, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Richard. It's an absolute joy to be here.
Great to have you here. Now, Gill, I always ask my guests, where in the world are you?
I'm in beautiful West Sussex, in the south of the UK. For people that aren't too sure, most people know London and Brighton. Well, we're kind of 2/3 of the way to Brighton, so not far from the south coast.
And what's the weather like in the UK right now?
It's been nice today. It's been sunny. It's been 24 degrees. We've been out in the sunshine, having had a cheeky afternoon off work. So yeah, it's beautiful at the moment, but it's been a bit wet. You know, it's UK. It's always going to rain in the summer. That's what
Just
happens.
a little bit. I
But
know it
yeah,
well.
it's been good. Today it's lovely.
Fantastic. Well, Gill, let's get into this. Tell us about your background a little bit and the foundation of Collaboration Global.
Cool. Well, I'm a business coach, and that's kind of my day job. But my passion, which is overtaking my day job, is collaboration. Because about 10 years ago, I was at an event where I was told, "You see that guy over there?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's another business coach, just like you." I'm like, "Oh, great. So you don't want to talk to him because he's probably going to steal your clients. So I'll protect you from him." I thought, "Are you crazy? He's another business coach. I want to go and talk to him. He might have something that can help me, and we can share and we can support each other." And he was this chap that was trying to protect me was like, "Are you mad? That's crazy." So I went over and chatted to this other business coach who had the same mindset as me, and we ended up being business partners together. And what we realized is that a lot of people out there didn't understand the essence of collaboration. They understood the transactional side of collaboration, where it's like, well, if I work with you and we do some project together, well, you'll get 30%, I'll get 40%, and then maybe somebody else will get the rest. And it was all about the numbers and profit and, as I say, the transaction, where we were very much like, let's have some fun, let's explore, what could we create, who do we need, what's missing. And it was a different space that we were holding. And after a while, people just wanted to come and join us. How much do we have to pay? Where can we come to? How do we join this thing? And we're like, there isn't a thing. We're just telling people about collaboration and how you can look at it from a paradigm of love and connection and abundance. That mindset where you can be free and open to try something new. And people liked that idea. This was about 10 years ago. The time was right for people to just change. As time's gone on, pandemics come along, more and more people are interested in that conversation. They don't want to be lone rangers anymore. They want to be with people that they can expand themselves, they can expand their business, they can extend their reach, and they want to make some good in the world. They want to create a positive impact. So we have a community now, and it's an online community like a little country. And that's what I love, because there's some fascinating people in that community. And so I'm inspired every day. It's fantastic.
Oh, well, that's great. So you're very much getting away from, as you say, the transactional side, almost the mercenary side of what business can be, and seeing what you can do for the greater good and for the benefit of everybody.
Don't you find that that's the feeling at the moment, in the UK at least, and I think probably the US as well, and I'm sure Australia, is that people don't just want to have a business to make money and have stuff. They also want to do some good in the world. The pandemic made people realize when they were home alone, they were isolated, what was important to them? Well, it was their relationships. It was the people that they missed. It wasn't going into the office. It wasn't sitting on their laptop 10 hours a day. It was the hug and the interaction with other people. So now people are realizing that in order to grow their business, if they can grow their business for a good reason, for a business for good, and make positive impacts, they've got more joy in it. They've got more love in what they're doing. They help more people. And do you know what? They make more money. It's this wonderful sort of social entrepreneur view of looking at the world. And that's who we're coming across more and more. People aren't, the UK, for at least, the
Mhm.
backbone of our economy are the SMEs. And this is how we are going to change and transform what's going on in our country, and how we're going to save the economy is by us helping other people and growing at the same time. It's not a rude word to make money, but we can do it and help more and more people as we go.
So it almost sounds like making money is the side effect or the side benefit of the approach that you're taking rather than the focus.
Absolutely. Got it in one, Richard. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, let's get into the topic of today, the very Shakespearean phrase, "Are we putting the cart before the horse?" Give us a bit more detail on this.
Well, what worries me or concerns me is that in the world today, we're very good at, and we have been taught how to catastrophize a lot of
Hmm.
things. Um, and AI is one of those things. There are so many people out there being horrified. It's taking over humanity.
Hmm.
It's going to be we're going to be in our dotage when we're in our 80s and 90s, and we can't wipe our faces ourselves. We're going to have a robot that's doing it for us. There are so many horror stories out there about AI taking over the world, and yet it's like, hang on a minute, whoa, 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 let's just backtrack. Um, it is something that can create amazing things. And it's the same way that we're told that the news that we watch, it's told to us in a certain way. It's catastrophizing. It's the energy behind it is like shock horror. This terrible headline. This is awful. And you're like,
Hmm.
well, actually, if you said that in a different way, it's not that bad. It really isn't a terrible thing, but we are taught that everything's got to be, oh no, this is awful. And I think the same is being done with AI. There's so many conspiracies out there. There are so many things, and we see these billionaires that are having fun at our expense with what they're doing with their
Hmm.
technology, that it frightens everybody to what can be the case, but it doesn't have to be that way. Sure, there is the potential for these wonderful artificial intelligences to do terrible things. We've already seen some of it out there. But it's the computer says no. We're putting the information in. So
Yeah.
we have to be radically responsible for ourselves and what we are doing and who we are in order for AI to work beautifully for us and save us from the drudge and the droll jobs that we have to do. I mean, I bet there are not many lawyers out there that are happy going through reams and reams and reams of files in order to find the evidence when AI could be doing some of that drudge work for them. What we don't want to miss out on is our humanity that has to be put into AI, our creativity, our curiosity. We have to be very aware of what we're putting in order to make sure that what we're getting out is reliable. So it's a bit like Henry Ford said, if we asked people what they wanted, they'd say they wanted a faster horse and not a motor car. Everyone was up in arms when the car was started. And as he famously said, you can have it in any shade you like, any color you like, as long as it's black. And I feel like we're at that stage now with AI
Hmm.
that we're having fun playing, but people don't take it seriously. Of we are the ones that are putting information in. We're putting our IP, intellectual property, in there, and people are putting their books in there to share, and it's coming out and being regurgitated. So we have to be aware of one, how it thinks, and we're the ones that are teaching it how it thinks. So what actually are we teaching it? It's like the next generation of children. What are we putting into them so that as they grow, and I think some of that isn't working very well, but what we put into our AI, we should be treating that as we treat our children.
That's a really, really interesting set of statements there. Let's unpack some of those because really up front, we're talking about the way that AI is being presented. And going back to your earlier statements when we were talking about collaboration global and how that got created, the point of the negative, people jump into the negative all the time. How much do you
Mm,
think the media is to blame for some of these statements that are coming out or some of the feeling about AI? Because, I try not to mention these things, but when you get into the Matrix and the Terminator, people have that in their mind. Now, are people going for clicks? Are they going for eyeballs with horror stories about AI as opposed to the positives? We had the amazing stories recently about breast cancer screening. The diagnosis can be significantly improved through the use of AI. And then the next minute, you've got a statement about, oh, now we've got AI robots going out and killing people. So,
yeah.
how much is it? that it's media and trying to get those clicks and eyeballs, or how much of this is actual reality?
Well, you can't really blame the media because when you're in that world, it's like a goldfish in dirty water. When they're in it, they don't realise how dirty it is. And you take them out, and then they can look back at that dirty water and go, "Oh, wow, I was swimming around in a load of rubbish." And they realise that they're clean now, they're out, and it's possible to see the world in a different way. But you throw them back in that water, and a couple of days later, they don't realise how dirty the water is. So a lot of people are trained and honed in their industry, in their profession, to do
Mhm.
that stuff. To give the horrific headline. There's so many magazines out there that you look and you're like, oh, that's terrible for that poor celebrity. And you read the story inside, and it's like nothing to do with what the headline is that grabs people's attention. So we are to blame. Again, we have a radical responsibility not to buy into those kind of tricks and not click on that bait and just kind of like let it swipe past us and be discerning in what we take on board. And the other thing is we have to be discerning about who we are as individuals. I'll give you an example. You're talking about the cancer and the AI that can detect cancer. There was a study done quite some time ago now where surgeons were they did a scientific study. I'm sorry, I cannot remember the name of it. So again, check my details out. But
No
there was
problem.
a study that said for all of the surgeons that they didn't know whether to operate or not. So it was like, oh, send them. All the doctors were saying, right, send them for tests, send them for tests, send them for
Mhm.
tests. And all the while, the patient is getting more and more ill. Where the doctor that went, my intuition and my experience tells me it's this, so I'm going to go with that. The doctors that use their intuition, their common sense, their experience, saved more patients than the ones that use the technology to go for another test, to try and find the conclusive evidence that it was this problem. And I think that's the problem where we rely too much on the AI and not enough on our human experience where we're coming from. So there's that balance that we have to trust ourselves. And it's the same when you're doing LinkedIn and your AI is there and you're like, well, I'm going to use AI to write my LinkedIn post. And you read it and you go, that sounds quite clever. That sounds quite intelligent. I'm going to put it out there. Well, I tell you, most people, if they're used to reading your posts, will spot a difference. It doesn't feel quite like Jill. It
Mhm.
doesn't. That's what the words that are there could be her words, but it's not. There's lacking something. I'm not sure what it is, but it's lacking something. So Jill doesn't sound like Jill anymore. So we have to. My creativity might not be in there. My humour might not be in there, and we need to be discerning in those kind of spaces and not allow convenience to overrule who we are. Because if you look at convenience in the big scheme of things, it's actually killing us. All the things that are convenient for us, like a little robot to do the hoovering, a little robot to cut the grass, even down to remote control for your TV so you don't have to get out of your chair to turn over the television. We're so sedentary in our lives now, it's killing us. So it's like just use some discernment in putting yourself out there. Don't use AI to hide behind it. We need our humanity out in the world. How else are we going to connect powerfully? How else are we going to collaborate effectively if we're hiding behind this shield of it's making me look better? Don't don't go for the looking good. Go for the being authentic.
So that convenience, that's something that I've heard from other people that we're almost going to get to a vanilla level if people are lazy and they just get AI to do as much of their work as possible, as opposed to getting it to do the right amount of their work. I've had several copywriters say to me that they can spot anything written by ChatGPT a mile away.
I can, yeah, exactly, exactly.
And
I had one of our presenters at Collaboration Global. We have a monthly meeting, and this guy Greg Moyer,
mhm,
American. Oh, he's such a future thinker. He showed some slides, and it's like, oh yeah, um, of all the SUVs from all the different companies that make different cars, he said all grey, and they all look the same, and you couldn't
mhm,
tell which car was which because he said AI designed them. He said we're becoming homogenized. He said look at all the houses, and again he went through all the houses that have been built like in the last 10 years or so, and you can see there's this. We're all becoming similar. There's no art. There's no
mhm.
creativity in what's being put out there. And it's like, wow, if we don't, do you remember the time when you used to drive down the road on the motorway and you'd look, a car would go past and you'd catch your eye and go, oh, I like that. That looks a bit different. That looks special. I'd love a car like that. The old Jags, all the old cars that had something special, people would want to lust after them. And now it's like, oh, I couldn't tell you if it was a Hyundai or a Jag or whatever. They all kind of look the same. And that's the tip of the iceberg. That's where we don't want to go. We don't want to lose that lust for something a bit, that joy, the joie de vivre of something different, that of the jarring of the, I didn't like, I wasn't sure. Do I like that? I'm not sure. It's this essence of the soul of who we are. Don't let AI create the girl with the pearl earring. Would Vermeer ever be able to use AI to create something amazing? Like, where's the soul in that art? That's not to say that AI can't recreate some things, but don't let it do something that has no soul. It has to have some soul in there. And again, don't let it take the humanity out of who you are and what you are capable of.
So it sounds to me that you're leaning towards, rather than having a simple burger every day, it's trying to create that beautiful steak with, the beautiful meal around it and the right wine, etc. So I'm very much feeling that what you're saying is the humanity of what we're trying to do with AI. Yes, we can get it to the judge work, as you mentioned, with the lawyers. Let's go through all those case files and find that bit of information, which normally you would get, one of the younger team members to go after and do. But that ability to add that humanity to it and use those years of experience is incredibly important. On that tip, then, one of the things that I like to talk to people about is a lot of people, when a new technology comes along, get terrified if they're in an older demographic.
Yeah.
AI, in my opinion, is actually a boon for older demographics because if used correctly, it can work in conjunction with their experience to do more than they ever could do in the past.
Yeah, it's this mindset, isn't it? It's
Mhm.
very easy, but anything, people don't like change, full stop. It's really hard. I remember when I was a kid and we went out to play one day and we came back and the teacher had moved all the desks around and everyone was horrified. It's like, where's my seat? I don't, where's my stuff? And I was like, oh, this is fun. I get to sit next to somebody new because I'm a people person. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
this is exciting. And the teacher went, I know, nobody likes change. Hands up if you like change. And everyone was grumbling. And I was like, yep. And I looked around and I was the only one in the class with my hand up. Okay.
Oh. Was that because he was scared of the teacher?
It was scared of being different to everybody else because at that age you want to fit in with everyone, don't you? You want to be part of the gang. And I realised that I like change. I love it. It's something gives me a buzz. But if your mindset is like, oh no, I don't like that. Oh, there's another television channel apart from the two that we already have. That's really outrageous. I mean, it takes a bit of getting used to. I remember my
Mhm.
nan didn't like the telephone in our house. It's ringing all the time. Why is it ringing all the time? She wouldn't answer it. It was like it was different, and it was like, oh, it will give you headaches. The telephone will give you a headache. And even before that, her mother, my great grandmother, electricity. She thought she was going to catch something from switching a light on because she had electricity in her house. There's always going to be people that have this mindset of it's new, I don't like it, before they've even explored the possibility. But I think these silver surfers, and I think these people that are open and they have traveled the world like your good self, have lived in different countries, they have a thirst for adventure, and their soul and their spirit is like, well, okay, show me, what do I have to do? Let me, and then they'll find out that it's easy to kind of create your shopping list or write your letters or
Mhm.
think of, outside of the box and do different things. And their experience and their life knowledge, because they're 70, 80, 90 or older, if they have that curiosity in them, they will find new ways, totally new ways. What I don't agree is if somebody's in a nursing home like over in Japan
Mhm.
and there is a robot that's coming to keep them company, then there's something wrong with yeah, it's really sad. But if there is nobody else, I suppose, I don't know. The jury's out. I don't know. I haven't got my head worked around all of it just yet. But I just think that, yeah, the elder generation, you can't make a sweeping statement. I think there'll be some out there that will grasp it
Mhm.
with both hands, and there will be some, like a lot of people who don't like change and were like, I'm not even interested. I'm not going to do that.
That is interesting. I mean, for me, what I'm seeing is, I mean, you take the examples in Japan. For a long time, because of Japan having the oldest generation, or
Yes.
the oldest population, should I say, there's been the opportunity to actually hire what are essentially actors who will pretend to be your children and grandchildren because your own children aren't coming to see you anymore. So, is the AI robot that much different? I mean, I look at Replica and
Mm.
some of the AI personalities that you can get online. I mean, do you see that as a true negative if it's giving somebody the emotional connection that they need when they aren't able to connect to real people?
Well, Linda Shaw wrote a book called The Shift. She is, I'm not sure she still is, head of the London School of Business.
Hmm.
And she looked at 20 years ago in business, current day. When she wrote the book, it was about 10 years ago. So back in the 2012, 13,
Hmm.
and then 20 years hence. So, and she predicted then, if we are not careful, we will be having a pandemic of loneliness,
Hmm.
which we've seen more and more. And the awareness around mental health is at its height. I've never known it like this in my
Hmm.
life. So maybe loneliness, if that becomes a pandemic, a disease, something that we suffer from, yeah. If people are prepared to have somebody as a companion, I mean, some people use Alexa like that, don't they, to have a
Yeah,
conversation with someone and
absolutely.
ask questions. So there's nothing wrong in it. But if you saw that TV show Humans that was on in the UK a few years ago, it has a sinister element about it as well, doesn't it? It's like you start relying on something like that. You then give them this feeling of that it's a real person, and it's like
Hmm.
embodying a pet with a personality, which some people do. And then, of course, if you lose that person or they need upgrading as a robot, then
Yeah.
it's going to be difficult for you to deal with. I think we need, as society, we need to take care of our older relatives more. We need to value them more. If you look at ikigai, the Japanese philosophy of a long and healthy life, and you look at I think it's half a dozen places around the world that give you examples of how to live that ikigai life, you realize that part of it is one, to have a purpose, and two, to have people that you care for and you are deeply connected to. And that could be family, that could be friends, that
Hmm.
could be carers, but it is that connection. And I don't think there's that full connection with an artificial intelligent robot. So I think that's a dangerous road to go down. And I think we should be making more effort to repair the damage that's already there. We shouldn't have people in our society that are lonely like that.
So the grand irony of with the internet, we're more connected than we have ever been, but now we're getting more lonely than we've ever been. Really kind of worrying.
Crazy. Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about what's your advice for people using AI both in life and business? Because it's here. We're not going to get away from it. It is now, it's the zeitgeist and it's on it's on the news all the time now. What is the advice that you give people about AI and how to use it personally?
I think the phrase that I was given by Gina Gardner, one of our members, who is a coach on leadership, and she says,
Hmm.
we all need to have radical responsibility for ourselves and how we engage with AI.
Hmm.
Don't use it flippantly. Um, don't lose yourself by utilizing it. But look at areas in your business that you can look around and go, well, that'll be perfect for that. I can utilize
Hmm.
it for that. Don't use and abuse it. So, and don't lose your own creativity and your own curiosity. I'm very loath to use it to start writing an article, because I know if I give it some keywords and it churns out something for me, I find it very difficult to move away from what I've been given. So I always start with a blank page so that my creativity is always the first thing there. And generally, I write something and then ask it to make it better,
Hmm.
or add extra. Oh, I forgot to put that in. Where would that go?
Hmm.
So I think this radical responsibility about being your authentic self, being genuine, making sure that it's you that's visible within any AI that you use, and maximize it for the benefit of your business. be clever. Don't necessarily go, this is what everyone else is doing. They're going to do a gazillion posts on whatever, Instagram or whatever. Just make sure that you're still being human in all of your interactions. And AI is just an asset that you bring in occasionally. You're not going to be always using AI, because then you lose a little part of you.
So do you think AI can improve work-life balance, or are people just dyed in the wool and they will work the same amount of hours they'll always work?
I'd love to think it could improve work-life balance. I think work-life balance is pretty much an anomaly. I think people just haven't quite got the hang of what that's meant to be. If you're doing something you love, you already got a work-life balance.
Yeah.
Even if you might be working 12 hours a day, but if you're loving it, what's the
Why not?
problem? Enjoy. But you've got to balance it with the people around you and
Hmm.
your health. So you can't be sitting there working on a laptop all the time. So I think there will come a time when we're more comfortable, when we're more used to it, that we'll go, yeah, yeah. Oh, do you remember before AI? Blimey, we used to do so much boring. It will take away the boring stuff, like the admin that we don't want to be doing, and the spreadsheets that we kind of pour over. Hopefully, all of that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, some people love spreadsheets. I'm not one of them. Um, but it will take away the bits of your business, probably your life, that is drudge that you don't enjoy. So that way, you've got more, and then you can think to yourself, so what do I enjoy? What is my thing that I really want to be doing more of? And then it might be writing a book, it might be creating something else,
Hmm.
but then you're free to explore other areas. So I think that's where the balance will come. And I think that what we don't want is that the AI is in control of us rather than us in control of AI. That's the balance that we'll be looking at. Is
Hmm.
how do we make sure that it's working for us and not us working for it?
So there's a lot of self-responsibility in there as well that I'm hearing you quote, because if you don't put that kind of discipline in there, you won't get the benefits of AI. You'll just work mad hours and probably make yourself ill all over again.
Exactly, because I think we've been in society. That's how we're trained to do. It's like work, work,
Mhm.
work, work, work. You're on this hamster wheel going round and round and round, and just taking that time to be aware and keep that awareness, and make sure that stuff that comes into you, you're not taking as at face value, and you're being discerning. I think then we can utilize there's huge benefits, massive benefits out there. And it's like, why wouldn't you? But just look after yourself, and make sure that it's you and your authentic self that's out there.
And if there was one piece of advice people should take away from today, what should it be?
Don't be scared. Give it a go. Try it out. Do you know what? It might not be for you. It might not be the right thing for you. It might not feel comfortable. So use your intuition and go, is this the right thing for me? And maybe it will be in a year's time or 2 years' time, but give it a go if you haven't already tried it, and just see how it goes. But take it in bite sized pieces. And if somebody's trying to sell you something that's going to revolutionize your life, just take that, um, bit by bit, because this is technology that has huge potential, but it's also got the potential to swallow us up if we're not too careful. So we need to make sure that our humanity is in everything that we do. So don't be scared. It's a good thing, but we are in control. Every single person is in control, and we have to make sure that we take that responsibility seriously.
Wise words. Where can people find you, Jill? And have you got any new projects coming up that people should be aware of?
Okay, well, you can find me on the website, collaborationglobal.org. But I would love to invite any of your listeners to come along to one of our sessions at Collaboration Global. If you're in Australia, it does mean a bit of a late night, because we meet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, British summertime. So I think that's the wee small hours for you. But we have had some Australians join us, and they've had a lovely time. And you can find us on Eventbrite there, or follow me on LinkedIn, Gill Tiney, GILLTINEY. I'm the only Tiny there, so it'll be easy to find me. Yeah, and I'd love to connect and have a chat, and just get ideas and share with people what collaboration is about and how it can transform possibility in our world, from AI and everything in between. It can transform businesses, and from businesses we can grow and extend our reach and support each other, and ultimately make a better world.
Gill, thank you for a truly fascinating conversation. Some great perspectives in there.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's a wrap on another awesome guest episode for the Evolvepreneur AI Advantage Show. Just before you go, if you like this episode, we would be very grateful for a 5-star review. Please also consider recommending the show to a friend or two. Make sure you subscribe for future episodes at aiadvantage.show right now. Until next time, I'm Richard Wray, and if you're an entrepreneur, get the AI advantage today.